Good day, everyone. It's actually a pre-record today. I am Opal Adamson here based in South Australia for the Let's Talk About Ice show tonight, which I am hosting. Yay. Before I start and get into the lovely lady that's sitting in front of me, I just want to talk about the Australian Anti-Ice campaign. Obviously, if you or anyone you know are experiencing issues with ice, please give our 1-800-NO-TO-ICE number a call, which is 1-800-668-6423. That number again is 1-800-668-6423. Whether it's education, we offer buddy support systems for individuals recovering as well as for family members. Whether it's about sponsorship or where you want to make a donation, or whether you just actually want to get involved with the actual cause. It's a beautiful cause to be able to help other people recover and, get rid of ice. So, please give us a call if you need anything. But apart from that, I am sitting with the lovely Holly today. Holly is based in Cairns. I'm slightly jealous. We were actually just talking about the fact that I was up there, and I'm very jealous of the weather with her right now. Just a little bit of background before we start, but I had to write this down because I was so impressed. Holly has been clean from methamphetamines ice for 6 years, 3 months, and 22 days. Well done.
Thank you.
But you're welcome. That's a huge feat. It's actually quite amazing. But in saying that, you did suffer from methamphetamine use and all things entailed with addiction for about 8 years since you were 17. So tell me, what did that look like? When did you start?
So a little bit about me. I did come from the streets. I was a foster child, things like that. So it was I suppose it wasn't bound to happen, but it was definitely going to be apparent from the family friends that I thought I'd made at 12, 13. And by the time I got around from the marijuana, that was my first go-to. So I smoked a lot of dope, whatever, thought I was cool, fit it in. We got into the 15, 16, and I'd started popping pills, ecstasy, thought I was, again, queen bee. I didn't worry about much else. And then, got just before my 17th, I had found speed. So a old friend was a cook or whatnot. So, I was there one night and, it fell into my hands pretty quickly. It took a hold of me for quite some time. And then I got to about 18, 19, and I realised that I didn't want to be like a lot of the women that I had met, where I suppose sex was the only way you were getting it, and I didn't want to be that person. I was always one of the tomboys, didn't want to be that person. I suppose it was pride or whatever you want to think it was back then. I learned how to cook. I learned how to be one of the boys, and I learned to take over what I could. So, it was my way of life, and that's sadly all I did know was to be that person. I didn't have a family, as I said just before, so having, no family and growing up, I suppose when you find the streets and your people, you feel like you've got a family. And I was like mum to everyone. I was the youngest out of everybody, but I always made sure everyone had something to eat. I was doing everyone's washing. Everyone used to, call me mum, a lady, or whatever everyone used to call me. And I was the mother of all the oldest men. And it was, I don't know how that worked, but that's how it was. And I felt like I had that place. I felt like I had my home. I felt like I had a family. So we all stuck together. We all looked out for each other, so I thought. And it wasn't, till many moons of getting clean later that I realised that, no, we all just used and abused each other and bounced off what we could. And that was the saddest part of my realisation, I think, because I held on to my people for so long, more than I did the habit. In the end, after I had my son at 21, I turned 21 when my son was exactly 10 months old, so work it out, 20, whatever. So in saying that, I got to that part, I had done my whole pregnancy clean. I had done his whole first year clean, everything. And I did amazing. I thought I was onto it. 13 months, someone rocked up and said, can you make me some money? Threw a bag at me. In my head, I was clean. Yeah, man, no worries. Let's go. Ding, 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 ding. Make your money. Before I knew it, I was back on the shit using. I had my best mate back then. If he does watch this, he'll know exactly who I'm talking about. And he saved my son, and he was the only reason why I had my son for so long when I decided to use again. Sorry. But it's true. So, it's a really big thing. I don't talk about it a lot, but he was everything for my son. My son never missed out on a park or anything like that. And I'm grateful to say that he was there with him. And, so I wasn't there. I wasn't present. I missed so many of my kids' firsts, like so many of my kids' first, and because I was too busy running around helping people get out of jail or whatever it was that I was doing. So I'm grateful to that friend that I did have, I suppose, through that time. But a lot of things happened. I fell into a really big cult, I suppose, at one stage. It was a really big thing in Cairns here. People, got hurt, people died, whatever. It was a big thing. I ended up getting into a lot of trouble with the police, with a lot of people. A lot of us did. And I had my time where they said they would take my son or do what you don't do, I suppose, in the scene. And even then, I didn't do what I should have done for my son. I didn't write statements or anything. I thought, okay, this is my family, fuck this. And I don't know how then, but I managed to walk out of that police station with my son. And I don't know how. Within months, I was on the run. Child safety were knocking on every door looking for me. Every fucking place I'd been, any phone I'd ever been on, they were ringing it or anything. Like, it was for a long time, 6 months. Thanks to that same friend that I speak about that took my son. He had been away from the scene for a while. He'd been out of town with an uncle, and I rang him and said, I'm fucked. They're going to take him. I don't know what to do. I'm done. Like, help me. As always, leaned on him, help me. And when he probably should have told me to go fuck myself, if I'm being honest, he probably could have, out of all the shit I just allowed him to take for me, So, but I was grateful again. He came and got me and drove me down to where we did, out of nowhere, out of Cairns for a while. And I was completely clean again. That was it. I made sure my son was life. I did everything I was supposed to do, and I promised I was going to do it, and I did. And child safety walked in 5 months later in the bush in the middle of nowhere through our front door. And I think I'd never felt scared as fuck as all I did that day.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they walked in and I was actually doing the dishes. My son was literally just eating breakfast. I apologise, my daughter. So
no, don't apologise. We are mama bears. It's what we do all day, and getting peace and quiet isn't necessarily something we have the opportunity to happen.
As I was saying before we recorded, I wouldn't change it for the world though. But yeah, so they walked in this day. Come on, sweetheart. They walked in this day. And I had obviously said, like, yep, this is Levi, we're here. Had spoken to them. They knew that I was clean. I was in the right sort of person's, company and things like that. And they left me with Levi. But before they left me with a piece of paper that actually said that I needed to have on me, because if I went to Cairns, they were going to take him.
Yep.
And I didn't understand that. I was like, well, you've just told me I could have him and you're leaving me here. So how does that sort of work? And I was a bit confused and I got a bit scared, and I knew it was because of the situation I was in back home with people and police. And yeah, it wasn't a comfortable situation to be in. I stupidly still went back to drugs. I got back to Cairns again 5 months later and I did the same thing. And I didn't know why I did it. I don't even know why I did it, but I did. And I thought I was queen bee again. It went on for 2 years. I continued to use. My son was never taken. I had a home this time. Everything was like whatever, but nothing was done. Nothing ever happened. And then one day I was at my lowest point. I'd been out of my home for quite some time, running around for 2 weeks, in and out of hotels with my son on my own with a bag. And I was trying to find anywhere to be. And I couldn't find anywhere to live, nothing. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't sell enough to pay enough in hotels. Nothing was working. I was at my lowest. In and out of Woolworths with shopping bags to make sure my kid had food every day. You name it. I was at my lowest. And, I rocked up to someone's place, again, used to sell to, help me out, need somewhere to be, whatever. My kids start school this week. I need to do something. And he let me stay. That was all well and dandy. And I thought, again, I'm going to do this. My kids at school will be right. We're good. 4 days into my son's first year of school, I went to pick him up and he wasn't there. Child safety had come in and taken my son from school because the reports that were made for months, they had been chasing me and chasing me and chasing me. And I thought I was in the clear. But they were waiting for me to go to school. They knew. And, so they found what school within 4 days. And they took my boy. It was probably the worst feeling of my life. I said over and over all these periods I wasn't going to do it again, and nothing had hit me home like this. And it really fucking messed me up. When they took my boy, I'd lost my pride. I wasn't queen bee. I'd realised that family, the one that I birthed, that was mine. He was gone and I'd left him behind. And I think that to me was honestly the reason why I'm here today, because it took me 4 months to stop trying to use friends' piss in bottles and trying to get out of it and everything else. I walked in one day to a visit and I sat there, and the way he looked at me, he hugged me, and I was coming down to really bad, and I didn't even want to be there. I was like literally shaking. I didn't want to be there because of the people that, you have to be supervised by. I just wanted to be with my son. It wasn't not wanting to be with him. I just didn't want to be there. And he looked at me one day and he said, when can I just come home? Can we just have a home? I want to go back to the bush. And he remembered when mum was clean, when mum was normal, and when we spent 6 months. That's what he remembered. And I thought, holy shit, that's the only good part he's had for how long? And it really, really fucking messed me up.
Yeah.
And that day, so that day I promised myself and I promised my son that I wouldn't use. And I promised him that mum was going to get better. Mum was sick, and I promised to God I was going to do it. And I made a really big connection with his lady that had him, his carer. We still call her Auntie to this day. We still talk to her. She's amazing, and I'm grateful for that. My son wasn't sent around the scene. He had one lady, one home, and he made a beautiful connection. And anyone who knows and watches this will know exactly what I'm talking about. She is amazing, and she's the reason why my son didn't go through the system. Like, she went to one home, and I'm grateful for that. But I made that connection with her, and she said, like, all the time over and over to me what Levi was doing, and she'd always connect with me, always answer the phone, and always kept me motivated that my son needed me. And it wasn't just left behind. And she said to me once, you've never missed a visit or a phone call. And I said, no. And I was there every visit, every phone call. I never missed one. She goes, that's big. I haven't seen that. And I'm like, yeah, cool, thanks, whatever. Again, thought nothing of it. Months later, I've gone and I asked at the start when I promised him that day if I could get my hair cut for drug tests, because I knew in myself that if they had to cut my hair, I couldn't fake it anymore. I couldn't get someone's piss and put the bottle. I had to be real. So that was my decision to get clean. That was how I did it for me. And I asked Child Safety if we could get hair follicle tests. So I got my first one done about a week after that promise to my son. And 3 months later come along, and all these notes from everyone saying I hadn't missed this and that and everything. And everyone's like at the office. And I thought, oh, my God, something's in my system. I'm screwed. There was more than anyone there this day. And I got in there and they all commanded me to say, Holly, this is your first, this is it, you're clean. And I'm like, whoa. And that really hit home. It really hit home. Like, it was 12 weeks of my life where I was actually clean, not pregnant clean. I was clean for me. And that was it. I was like, I can do this shit. I had a few moments where I got so bad on the alcohol. I had a couple of car accidents in that time. I was using alcohol to get away from getting over the ice, I think was probably my worst problem.
Substitution.
And replacing one habit with the next. If you actually all take a look, I actually have a broken nose. So this broken nose doesn't go anywhere from my last car accident. And that one was like my kid that could have had no mum. And all these things, I thought, I've gotten rid of a habit. I'm clean, but now I'm like, alcoholic. I'm crashing cars. I've had 2 accidents in 6 weeks, again with my nose. I was in the passenger seat, but I thought I could have been dead. And again, that was it. So I stopped drinking and I was like, again, back on track. And within 2 months of just solidly focusing on myself, they knew, I knew, and I was given sleepovers. And within the sleepover part, we fast-tracked my return home with my son in 11 weeks.
Well done. That's amazing. That's very quick.
It was really quick, and I was scared at the same time. I just managed to get out of a really shitful living space as well. Child Safety knew where I was living. I was in a share accommodation, low-life place. It was crap. It was absolutely horrible. But I managed to get out of there. I rented a granny flat through an amazing bloke. He let me rent it. It was my space. It was mine. Child Safety approved it for sleepovers. Everything was good. And then they said, well, you can have him 2 nights a week so you can take him to school, see how you go with school. I never missed, school time. I was on time. You had the right lunch and all the things they take notes of or whatever, I guess. And, they just said, Holly, this is it. We're really trying to get you a house now. We've seen all your changes. By then, I had 3 consecutive hair follicles, so 9 months in total. My hair was clean. Myself, I was clean. But yeah, so we'd done all that, and I think it was about 3 weeks of me being given Levi on a provisional period. So it was, you can take him home, he's yours, but we're watching you like a hawk. We'll see you twice a week, everything, you know. And I was like, yep, no worries, just to make sure the people that I was associated weren't in my life mainly. That was their biggest concern, because Levi was diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder. So my son got diagnosed with RAD, and the meaning of it is too many people in and out of a child's life. They get connected to people and they're gone and things like this. So that's something that comes up now still with behaviours, ADHD similarities. Does my head in. But again, I did these mistakes and I'm here to work through them with my kid, I guess. But yeah, not every day is easy, but we do it. But yeah, so in saying that, about 3 weeks after having my son, Department of Housing rang me. Now, I've been homeless my whole life. Never had a home. I was 17, got one rental when I was 21, had rented a caravan or a cabin in a caravan park, whatever, but I'd never had my own home. And I'd always struggled, always, to have a home. I'd always lived with people and, always been an addict or a dealer or whatever. You just rent hotels and that was your life. And Department of Housing rang me and they said, we've got a house for you to look at. Have you got time today? And I was like, what time? I'll be there. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Can I just have the key, sort of thing? Like, you're giving me a home. And I rocked up. I rang my child safety officer, actually, because I had gotten really close to my CSO, from someone who couldn't stand child safety, to tell you now 3 names that saved my mental health and my life. I love them to pieces. But, I rang him and I'm like, I got a phone call, and I was in tears. He's like, I'll be there in 30 minutes. We'll go have a look. And I was like, thanks, dude, legend. And he rocks up and drives me over there. And I'm like, is that my yard? And it's like half an acre yard with this little tiny duplex in the corner. I'm like, is that my house? He's like, that's yours. Really? And he's walking around like, this is pretty all right for housing. And he's like, you've got fans. And I'm like, I've got fans. Like, I'm running through my house. And I literally was in heaven. I was like, are you kidding me? I didn't care about the dodginess. He was just like, that's my home. And I was so grateful. I can't. Anyone that knows me knows, everyone knows I am very house proud because I never had one. And, it's everything for me is to have a good home, a stable home, a cupboard full of food. All the things that I never had is something that I've always got now. And if we run low on something, it's because of my anxiety. I'm like, and I'll go spend $400 at Woolworths, but I only needed $200, because it's in my head that I need it. So that's things that invent in me now. So I got that house and, everything was great. My partner that I am with now, to this day, we had been together in the previous time for about 2 years of me being on the run and things like that, with my stepson, if anyone sees him walking around the background. But so he and I connected because I had my son, and anyway, we were together for quite some time. We'd broken up just before I was at my lowest, before I moved into that house when my son was at school. And we never spoke again. That's it. See you later one day. Never spoke. He never rang, never come got his stuff. I never spoke to him. The kid that called me mum, it was over. We just never spoke. And it was mental crazy, Anyway, I got my son. Life was good. This will spin people out, and I love to tell people this. But so I had missed calls about a month before I got given Levi from his mother's Facebook. And I'm like, we haven't spoken in 2 years. So that was it. Anyway, I stupidly one day got Levi back. I thought, you know what did you want? A month later. So I rang him back, told his mum, let him give me a call, whatever. Never spoke to me. Whatever, fine. I left it as that. And probably the fairy tale part of my ending is that my son was with his ex-carer. She rang up, wanted to take him to a park here with the rest of the kids. Said, yep, awesome, I get a break, have him. I then get a missed phone call an hour after my son's been gone from him, my partner today, Max, whatever. And so I answer it. And in the background, I hear my son say, can I speak to Dad? And I was like, what the F? Are you, pardon? Where's my kid? What are you, and I was a mess. I was like, what the fuck? Anyway, so I'm like, sure, say hi to Caleb, that's it. Say his name because I didn't know what to say. We ended up catching up for a coffee. He too had been clean for over a year, had started an apprenticeship, was working his ass off, had his son, life was good. Everything was, fine and dandy for us both. So we took it easy and, I had my house, so he was coming in to and from work. Kids were getting along. Life was good. Fast track to 9 months later, and I fell pregnant with our baby girl. In the time we were together, I did have 2 abortions in 12 months to that man. And so when I say she's meant to be here, to the same dad, I really believe that your kids choose your parents, because within 9 months she made it like, well, you aren't just working it out, I'm coming. And you know what, we're here, we're here now 5 years later, nearly 5.5 years later. We don't fight, we don't argue. Our life is literally amazing. He's finished his apprenticeship now, still works his ass off for his brother-in-law. Life is amazing. For us, we've got our forever home, 4 bedrooms. Before last year, Child Safety had asked me if I'd like to be a kinship carer for my brother. Successful to say that I have a certificate on my fridge now that says I am a kinship carer. I'm entitled to a blue card. From grievous bodily harm charges, all of it. I've done it, nailed it, and my 14-year-old brother now lives with me as well. So we have now moved from my little duplex into a 4-bedroom home. This is my forever home. In our 4 bedrooms, I have a beautiful yard, my Rottweilers and dogs, and life's crazy. Kinship carer for my child, everything. So life's really fast-tracked from the person that I used to be, homeless, junkie, everything that I was, to where I am now. And again, it wouldn't have happened unless they had taken my son. And I will be honest, if Child Safety hadn't taken my son from school that day and actually taken him from me, I would have kept going around in circles, and I probably still wouldn't be here, or I would have lost myself and my son, honestly, because of the life I was living. So I'm really grateful to say I'm here now.
Yeah, what you have achieved in 6 years is absolutely amazing. I just want to, thank you for that. Like, it's no easy feat. It's phenomenal. And to be able to do such a drastic turnaround to the point where, you've had your kid taken from you to you're now actually caring for your little brother, is absolutely amazing. There's a couple of things I want to unpack there for you, because it was a pretty big story, and I can tell you're emotional. And it is an emotional story, and it's the truth. But at the same point in time, people need to see these stories for what they're actually worth and what we go through. People also need to understand that, one, it takes a hell of a lot to sit here and talk about your story, especially when
I'm not open about it, so I'm full of tears. I'm like, oh God, this hits home.
Yeah, it does, but it's brave, and it's that next step in that recovery, really. And it also the next step in terms of what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Firstly, you talked about your friend a couple times. You didn't mention her or whatever, but I'd like to say thank you to him for the fact that he stepped up when he was clean and stuff, to be able to help someone that was actually going through it. That is so needed. That intervention and that help is actually needed. I understand that you did go back a few times after that, but it's something I was just talking about in another interview the other day. What people need to understand is, with the cycle of addiction, when we try to get clean, we do lapse. Sometimes for long periods and heavily again. Sometimes it might just be like 1 or 2 days. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's the same thing. It's the same emotions that go through us. It's the same crap. But the thing is the more times we keep coming back, we eventually get it. Eventually something's going to freaking click. Do you know what I mean? And it just takes that one person or that one event, that one moment, and you just go poof, and it's good. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I'm not going back.
I had that moment.
Thank you for doing the work. It's I think the biggest thing is realizing that it's the drug's the drug. It's addictive. Anyone can get addicted to it, and unfortunately what people don't realize is that it's actually in every sector of society. It's not just low socioeconomic. The business people, that
some of the biggest millionaires in the world are the biggest addicts you'll ever meet.
Yes, I know. I won't go into how I know. Yes, I know, and it is something that I have discussed a few times with other coaches and stuff as well. But it does affect everyone. And the single thing that is really important is that people who can see that someone is actually struggling just need to step up and show unconditional love to be able to help them. And you would not be here if you weren't shown that unconditional love.
Yeah, and I say that I'm very powerful in saying that. I know a lot of people might not agree with this right now, because I know I was there, but I am actually really grateful for the connection I made, not with the first, not with the second or the third or the fourth child safety officer I was given, not the first, second, third or fourth that I abused and told them all where to go, and none of them were going to help me. It was the fifth one that was sent to me months into me being clean that I am grateful for to this day. I actually reached out to that person and asked for a reference from my child safety officer. I actually reached out for a reference from him to send away for my blue card report. I'm not kidding. So if you could go back to child safety and ask for support, that's huge. And I'm telling you now that if you make the connection, if you haven't got the right person working for you, please find the right person that you do want to work with in child safety if you're fighting for your kids. I just have to put that out there, that don't hold yourself back. If you don't agree with what's going on, please ask for a new worker. Find someone that works with you and understands you, because once you've got that, you will be empowered within yourself. You will given confidence in yourself. You are told you're doing the right things. It really hits home, and it makes your journey a lot quicker and a lot easier when you find that right connection. So I just had to put it out there, please. If you're working with child safety, I know a lot of people are going to go, because a lot of people got, disagreements, but I'm coming from someone who was that kid. I've been that foster kid. I was ward of the state. I've been there. I'm telling you, please reach out to find the right worker for you.
I 100% back that decision. It's something I said to my mum, and when I was helping with what I've been through with my stepsister and all that sort of stuff. But you have to find the right one that works with them. And you have to remember that not even as adults or even as kids, we don't get along with everyone.
No,
we're not supposed to. And we don't. So we have to find the right one that's supportive for us. Because if you get the wrong one, you're not going to be motivated, and they're not going to be appreciative, or they're not going to be they're not going to think it's satisfactory in terms of the stuff that you are doing to be able to get them back. So you're right. Find the right one, and it doesn't matter how many you go through.
No, it doesn't. Like I said, I abused four. And I was nasty. They could have sent me back 2 years with my kid. I was nasty. And someone seen the light in me. I got to this one. And number 5 was it. And like I said, years later, I messaged him through Facebook to find him to ask for a reference, because he meant that much to me. So people do have them. Even now, I've gone through 5 CSOs with my brother, and I still stand by one who was amazing. And I'm like, can you come back? And it's coming from someone who hated the system. I beg for one lady to come back in my life now. It really does. And you've just got to make that connection with the right person. I can't emphasize that enough while I've got the voice to be here and tell somebody that who's fighting the system with their kids and trying to do the right thing. Just, don't stop until you found that right person.
Yeah. I think I just also want to point out it's not, it's a difficult job for them too. Without a doubt, to be able to be put in that situation and then to have to deal with some people are cooperative, some people that aren't, all the rest of it. It's a really difficult job, and I think we just need to hold that space for them. Okay, so maybe we might not get along with them. We need to respect them for the job that they're doing and respectfully ask to be able to find someone that's actually going to help us.
That's right. Absolutely. And I went about it the wrong way. Like I said, I went through 1, 2, 3 or 4, and I was nasty. It was so rude. I was horrible. I look back at me, old version of me now and go, oh my God, Holly, I'm horrified with myself. But again, that was the old version of me. I forgive myself for that. I was in pain, but it's really important to find that person that just understands.
Yep. One of the other biggest things with addiction that we all have in common is, one of the main reasons why we actually use is because of the trauma that's inside of us. At the time, we don't realize, we use for, fun reasons or to be part of the group, to, whatever it might be. But realistically, when we develop addiction, it's generally because of that trauma that we actually have inside of us.
Yes.
And the healing of that trauma takes a very, very long time. Can you tell me a bit about how you've dealt with that trauma, how you're healing? And because we talked just before off camera about how we're both healing still. Mine's 3.5 years and yours is 6 years. How have you dealt with that trauma to be able to get to the position in which you're in?
Yeah, so in early days for myself, when I first got my son, I was rocking life. I got my own house. Everything was good. Caleb, my partner, was back in my life. Everything was great. But I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was supposed to feel. I had a lot of anxiety, I suppose. PTSD definitely came into it from the abuse of, putting yourself in the worst relationships possible. So all that, being put down and things like that, DV or whatever, had definitely come over me. So it was hard to get out of my mindset. I found myself even lacking, in parenting, a lot of it. And I reached out to a group, actually. A lot of people might know who that group is. It's called the Anti-P Ministry. My girlfriend and one of my amazing brothers here in Queensland actually were admins for the group Anti-P Ministry. So it was founded by brother Brendan Warren in New Zealand. It's come to Australia now. And they said, why aren't you admin? And I was like, huh? Why would I want to be admin? You know, like, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, well, you're clean and you just be you. You tell people how you got clean, what this and that, and, you know, explain it to me. And I put my head into it for about 3 months. And every day I just rocked up and told someone a part about my life, or I'd go live when I was having a day, or, you know, and that really, really helped me. Within a few months of just doing it constantly, I'd let a lot out. I'd let so much out, even just talking to myself out loud, you know, it was just like, ugh, and I'd cried, I'd sat with my emotions. And I suppose on the days where people go, I didn't want to sit with them emotions, I just wanted to be high. No, I knew the difference. And I always reminded myself of how high and where it got me, because whatever goes up must come down. And that was a really big thing for me. I know whatever goes up, it's coming down. And I learned that, you know, and so for me, it was already here. I'd lost my boy, it was here. It was like, right. So I'd literally get out of my mindset. I suppose exercise was another one as well. I'd get right into this whole clean eating thing for like 2 years. I did juicing and this and that. And I put everything on Facebook, everything was on Facebook. So everyone was like, oh, yay, 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 yay. And that social interaction, that constant commendments from people, and, you know, just the confidence boosting and telling me I was doing the right things and well done, asking me for advice. I was like, me? You me? Okay, hi, I'm here. And, you know, I felt needed. I felt important. I felt more than just a mum that got clean. And I suppose I can say that to anyone, is getting out of your comfort zone. So when you're having those shit days, getting out of your comfort zone, whether you have to tell yourself, you know, I don't know if anyone knows the 1, 2, 3. So you count to 3 and you just get up and go on the count of 3. So it doesn't matter what you're doing. You can be sitting there as lazy as hell. You're not going to move, vegetable, watching Netflix, whatever. And you just do it. And it might take time, but you've got to get into the habit. So one of my things was 1, 2, 3, go. And I'd be sitting there and it was like, I'm not doing this. And I knew in my head I'd repeated it. You know, I procrastinated so much. I'm not doing nothing. And I'd be like, 1, 2, 3, go. And you just jump up with anxiety. Okay, let's go. And you'd have to do it. And, you know, it takes a bit to get into that. It's definitely not, oh, I'm just going to tell myself 1, 2, 3, go, it's going to happen. You've got to be in the mindset of telling yourself 1, 2, 3, get the hell up, you know. And so there was all these things over the first year and a half, I suppose, of having my son back that I, you know, enabled in myself to be able to keep going. And a lot of it come from socials. A lot of my interaction come from social media. So whether I reached out to the groups and shared my shit days or how I was feeling, or even my thoughts about addiction or whatever I wanted to get off my chest, that always made me feel amazing, made me feel confident in myself. And I got the comments back and people interacted with me, and, you know, I was like, okay, I'm not a nut job, I've got this, you know. And so all them things really boosted my confidence and boosted my inner growth as well. Fast tracking to my 6 years, I have been working online for 2 years, 4 years in general, but 2 years successfully online. I actually run a business, Inside Out Beauty Nutrition. I have smashed business. Like, I loved it. Just come back from Sydney, going to Bali next month, supposed to be in January next year, Utah. I mean, I've really done this business. So, and I say to anybody, people go, why socials? If you found your passion, if you found your people, you do it. And as I said earlier, I didn't have my family. I didn't grow up with many friends. I didn't have any of it. And now I find those people. I find people that are just like myself, people that are like thriving for a community. That's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me here. And that's what keeps me every day on the consistent path of staying clean, being a mum, and rocking up for myself. Because without it, I'm like, my team needs me. My kids need me. Everyone still needs me. So I have replaced the addiction and the family with something that actually benefits myself. And it is my family, it is my business, it's my friends, it's my life. And honestly, that's what I've created, to be able to be in that mindset to heal. And every day is still a learning opportunity. I'm still healing. I run a group called Anxiety Doesn't Define Us. 600 members on Facebook. And those are the days I get in there and I'm like, I hate my life. Everything's crazy. And I'm real. I still have those shitty days. Anyone that knows me, I'm like, dude, it's 12 o'clock and I'm having a beer. You know, like, I'll be honest, I don't use ice. No, I don't. But hell, man, I'm telling you, I'm having a beer. I'm telling you now, you know, so I'm real. Like, life is life. And I've been really honest with myself. I suppose that's the big key too, is not to be dishonest with yourself. When you're healing, you cannot keep making excuses for people that did you wrong. You can't keep making excuses for the things that you did. You have to forgive yourself. You know, these are the things that you need to do to be able to heal. And if you're not doing the work, you're not going to heal anytime soon. And that's just being honest. If you're just like, I'm getting off the drugs and life's going to be great, it's not. You've got to get off those drugs and you've got to freaking do the work. You know, you got yourself in that hole, and I'm telling you, you've got to climb back up out of it. And like I just said before, what goes up is always going to come down. So when you're down, you're only going to go up. And that's what I've realized. So I hit bottom, I've gone there, and everything I do now just goes, see, there's my camera again with the left side. I'm on this side of my screen. But everything I do, it just goes up. And like I said, I have weeks where I'm like, everything's fucked. You know, I'm $1,000 in debt or whatever it is. And then 2 weeks later, I've got myself out of the hole, I've paid my bills, business is good, and I've got myself out of it. Doesn't mean I'm going to have like high days all the time. I've accepted that too. That like for 2 years, I just got high and life was fine. But I've accepted now that we are going to have shit days. Everything is not going to be perfect. So don't get myself down about that. You know, I'm going to have a shit day, or life's going to be shit. My kids are going to be naughty. The kids are going to be suspended. I'm going to have happy days. But on that days, again, it's about healing myself to know that it's not all over. You know, it's not a reason to relapse, or it's just life. And I've accepted that life is busy, life is hectic, life is the biggest journey in itself of learning who you are before drugs. So I suppose we make it a bit harder for ourselves to get to know us already and on that level. And I suppose my biggest thing is making sure you're surrounded by people that empower you. Because without people that constantly tell me that, Holly, you're nailing it, you're amazing, you're this, I'd be like, thanks, anxiety, I'm this, I'm that. And I'd be letting anxiety control me. And that's the truth. I have major anxiety. But to get past that mindset for me is to be with my people. And I've replaced those people with good people, people that lift me up, you know, and I've made that. Yeah. So, I think that's the biggest thing for me with healing is just, I suppose, not being in denial and accepting it for what it is.
Yeah. And once again, I've had several people say this on my show, but, you know, if you're going to hang around 6 people, make sure they're 6 good people, because otherwise you're going to become the 7th dropkick, or you're going to become the 7th most successful. So that's just how it is. Just unpacking a couple of that as well. Firstly, you made a comment about just a mum that got clean. I'm like, no, you are so much more than just a mum that got clean.
That's all I thought I was.
Yeah, like there's so much more to it, and to be able to actually pull yourself out when you are a mum, it's actually even harder, because you're not thinking about yourself, just yourself. We've got other people to think about. And then another thing that you touched on as well is you're talking about, you briefly discussed addiction in daily life. Everywhere in daily life there is addiction, but it depends on the type of addiction. Addiction can be healthy. You know, we can have that addiction to making too many smoothies, or going to the gym or walk, or those sorts of things too, you know, but as long as it's in balance, so that it doesn't affect the way in which we actually act, or detract from the time that we're actually supposed to be doing something else and take us away from the actual present moment, and it's healthy. But as we know, drugs, it's no go.
No, it isn't. Just say that. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly it. Like, honestly, I know people who got Netflix addictions, and, you know, like, honestly, 4x4 addictions. I've met people that have got 4x4 addictions. I'm like, what's a 4x4 addiction? Don't you know what a 4-wheel drive is? And I'm like, I live in Cairns, Queensland, like, you know, and you thought you'd lived this big life, and all of a sudden you're meeting people that catch balls and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, that's living right.
Yeah, I think what was the other comment? Like, we realise that we know nothing when we realise. We realise that we I can't even remember it. We realize when we think we know everything, we actually realise that we know nothing, and therefore the journey starts again. Yeah. So
that's
exactly
right.
that.
That's right.
Learning every day. We were growing every day. The other thing that I wanted to touch on is you said you run a group called Anxiety Doesn't Define Us. Would you briefly talk about that? Because you didn't mention that before. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, so I actually have a few groups.
You've actually come. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
I've got a few
them.
groups. So I run the Not So Perfect Mamas group on Facebook. So Not So Perfect Mamas is because I'm not so perfect. My life isn't perfect. My kids aren't perfect. Life is life. And I created that because my stepson has autism level 2 ADHD. My partner's gone from 5 a.m. till 6 p.m. Doesn't understand his child in any sense. I'm not meaning it in a bad way. He's just a full bloke. He really just doesn't understand autism. So for a meltdown, stop whinging. You know, and he doesn't understand. He's not being nasty. He just doesn't understand. So it's been on me for 5 years, and it's on me. Every meltdown, explaining it, it's me. And honestly, it was killing me. I was like, fuck is this? I didn't sign up for this. You know, and trying to understand a little person when I'm still trying to find myself again was really, really hard. And at the start, I thought, I can't do this. This isn't going to work. And I thought, you know, this is going to happen. I can't raise this kid. I'm going to hurt him. I'm screaming like, you're not listening to me. And I had all these bad parenting habits and all this. And I thought one day, I'm not the only one, right? Like, I can't be. So I just created this Not So Perfect Mamas. I invited 40 of my friends, and it started off as a Friday night. My girlfriend in New Zealand, everyone would just rock up, tell everyone, we'd sit there, she'd have a wine, I'd have a beer, and be like, right, kids have done this week. I'm not having this. And it was a freaking mums group where we could just vent. And that's what it was originally. And then as that like time went on, I was running my business. I was really busy. I just started putting memes in there and community like events and things like that. I'd post all sorts of things in there. I find like recipes that are really cheap and easy for mums now, and things because our low budgets, we all know what it's like. So all these little things, and I put everything into there. And like I said, some days I rock up with some crazy memes. Mum's like, "Oh my god, did you just post?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was me. Not so perfect," So, and we have that laugh again. It comes to that social interaction, and everything's just So I really created the Not So Perfect Mamas for mums like me that were really drowning. Kids are not perfect, and you didn't know if you were doing it right or not. So I created this group, and now people reach out in DMs, and they all lean on each other. People have made so many friendships and connections from inside the group, and yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. So that was my Not So Perfect Mamas, and that's any mama that. Did you just come out nude? Right, run away.
I can't find my pink pizza.
All right, that way. Run.
I can't find my pink pizza.
You're gonna love it. Your 4-year-old's home and she's showering. Okay, hang on, I'll take you away from here. But anyway, so we created that, and I just know we're on a time limit, so I'm like, hang on, you have the camera. Let's go. Come on, this way. That way. So anyway, then we created the Anxiety Doesn't Define Us. And when I created the group, again, it was for myself to have an outlet for somewhere to talk.
Find my pink pizza.
I'm doing it, ready? And for somewhere to talk. So at the end of the day, I was like, if I'm stuck in my own head, how many other people are too? And again, it was the same thing. I could just share my thoughts and get out of my own head. That's all it was supposed to be. And it went from 40 members to 600 members, I think we are, maybe 580. And it's just people all over Australia, all over New Zealand, America. I think I've got a lot of Texas now in there as well, and Tennessee. And so there's people in there everywhere. And they just share their thoughts, their anxiety, and where they're coming from. I've got a lady that she's come from, you got that one? She's come from addiction and stuff. She's still there, but she always reaches out and she says, "You're the reason that I'm still sane." And I'm like, how? Because I just post crazy things. But those crazy things I post are something that saves her mental health. And I'm like, okay. And I'll get 30, 40 messages every couple of months in my private DMs. "Honestly, girl, thanks to what you do, you inspire me to be a better person." Or, "I don't think you realize how much I look up to you. Holly, you've done." And I get these messages and I'm like, where? And I cry because I'm so fucking proud. I'm like, I did that? Just this, old junkie mum, whatever I used to be. No, I'm not. I'm this person. I'm here. I inspire. I am me. Like, I did this. I've created this. So I stuck to the Not So Perfect Mamas for mamas, and I stuck to my anxiety because that was my head and I didn't know how to get out of it. So to be able to share, and I was honestly just myself. I've never held back and tried to be something I'm not. I mean, we'll go through my Facebook. Most of my pictures are me. They're not filters. They're just me. I don't, get along with the fake side of life, I suppose. I find myself, more honest I am, the better that I heal myself. So the more crazy I am and the more out there that I am and being myself, I find I connect with the same people. I suppose your vibe attracts your tribe, so I I stuck to it. And through my Anxiety Doesn't Define Us, it is somewhere that people can go when, again, they don't know how to feel. They don't know how to understand a feeling or a thought or an emotion. And there'll be something in there. I remember I spent probably my first year in the group. It's been going for a couple of years now, but I remember in there I first started steps on guides. So I'd be like, who lacks confidence, or who lacks this, or whatever it was that they, people would comment and vote in the poll. I'd do my research. I'd go through everything on Google. I'd go through notes and I'd do all this stuff, and I'd write out all these notes and things, and I'd put together a guide. And if you go in through the anxiety group, you'll see guides like, this week I want you to focus on building your confidence through these steps, and there'd be 8 steps of things that they can do throughout the week to build confidence, to retrain their mind. There'd be a lot of different ones in there. That's just an example, but they were things that I did originally. I did steps and programs and things like that inside of there that I'd done for myself out of my own diary, things that I'd done. I was just sharing with people, and people got so much from it. And I suppose it was, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a shrink or anything. I'm just me. I'm just real. I'm just letting you know it's come from my space. And that's all it was. It was just someone else being real that someone could connect with. And again, it came to the fact of why I created them. It was about community. It was about about empowering myself and empowering others, because I knew I wasn't alone. I knew I wasn't the only mum going mental. I knew I wasn't the only one with huge anxiety, especially getting clean. You numb yourself for so long. You don't deal with any thoughts, feelings. You don't deal with nothing. And then all of a sudden you've got your kid back, your ex is back in your life, you're having a baby. Hang on, you're a stepmom with ASD and you've got school runs, and hang on, what the? I haven't paid rent all my whole life. What's an electricity bill? I got to do what? Like, everything of life was so much to me. And everyone said I made it look easy. I was like, okay, thanks. You don't realize inside I'm fucking drowning. And I really was. I was drowning. I couldn't fathom why I was doing this or what I was doing. I knew damn well it wasn't because I didn't want to be clean or anything else. I just didn't know what the reason was in my life, because I hadn't done it. I woke up every day for so many years, make sure everyone's got a feed, who's paid their bills, what shit do we need from a chemist, whatever crap. That was my sad life. And I didn't know any different. And then all of a sudden I'm waking up and I've got book week, costume week, dressing kids up, and what is all this? And it all hit me. And, like the first year I thought I was like the worst mum. I did book week and I shoved paint up their faces and put wigs on and all these things. And people were rocking up in all these fancy. I'm like, oh my God, my kids. But they'd come home with the award that they won and all this. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right. Woo! It was like all these things that you didn't do. You never thought you were going to be a part of. They are the reason why now I've changed that mindset, because you wake up and you're not getting into that same. It takes a long time, I think, is what I'm trying to say. And once you get into the real mindset of what you're doing, your routine becomes so regular to you. You've lost all that old thoughts. That patterns are gone. And that's all. Like now I literally would not know what to do. If I woke up without kids in my house, I'd be like, I do. I wake up now when they have a sleepover at Nana's and I'm like, and I look at my partner because I don't know what to do. They're not fighting. I haven't got to clean out. And I'm like, what do you do? Like, I go back to bed and I twiddle my thumbs. I'm like, nah, get into my business. Right, bang, back on the phone, start texting my team because I don't know what to do. Like, I literally don't know what to do. So, and I say, I suppose, like, retraining our minds is the hardest thing to do if we stay alone and stick to ourselves. We'll never retrain our minds. We need to be able to get out and grow. And like, I think I tell like my team a lot, if it scares the shit out of you, it's going to help you grow. You can't grow if it doesn't scare you. So if something really triggers you to go, oh my God, I can't do it, fucking do it. Just rip the bullet off and go and do it, because that's your start. You're not going to start healing if you don't, rip the head off and start somewhere. So yeah, I suppose it's really working out. It's working out what you want from your life, I suppose, too, because when we're, clean, you've never had to think about what you're going to do in the future or what's to come. You're literally worried about the next high and going to bed 6 days later or a feed. You're not really worried about much else. So it's really finding your big why and what you want to do. Like, you've got clean, yay, what do you want? And when you've found that, like, you just got to work at it. It's, it needs to become, like we said before, about healthy addictions. Make your goals your addiction. If it's healthy, make it your addiction. Don't stop. Just go and get it. And that's my big thing, like my business. That, at the start of the year, I was like, I'm going to Bali. I'm doing all this. I'm going to do this. And I didn't think at the start of the year I'd do it, but here we are. I've just come back from Sydney, smashed recognition dinners, galas. I should have been in Bali on the 7th to the 14th of September. So everyone watching, please wish me luck my passport arrives. Otherwise, I'm not there in September. I'm back in November. But honestly, I'm excited as hell. Like, I can. Life is amazing, even with crazy children. Like I said, I wouldn't change it for the world. Absolutely wouldn't change it for the world. So you need to get down, zip it up.
Hello, beautiful.
You gotta say hello. Look, you're out of that camera. I don't know how. It's on the wrong side. She's like, zip up my swim. Ready? Say hi.
Hi, I'm gonna have it.
I got the swimsuit on. She's ready to go.
Yeah. Well, I'd really like to commend you for the work that you're doing with other people, creating those groups and stuff, because it's actually really, really important. And people don't actually realize just how much, returning to normal life is such an anxiety trigger. Like, I mean, some people go, oh, what do you do in psychosocial recovery coaching for someone that's coming through addiction? And it's like, well, some people, I have to take them to the Medicare office because they've never had a Medicare card before and they can't go see a doctor. It's just those simple things that we take for granted that we do, mainly as
absolutely
adults, that we miss. Those people miss doing all that things through that transition because they didn't have that stable home environment in the first place, which is what led them to drugs. So I commend you for doing that for other people and to
trauma is definitely a big one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, we've only got about 10 minutes left. So what I will say is I'm going to ask you one more question. Is there anything else that you would like to tell or say or talk about for the next 5 minutes? Because I think you've got a lot to say, and I think people have got a lot to learn. You've got a great story. So go, shoot, 5 minutes. Tell me, what would you like to tell people?
All right, I guess. Okay, so if you're struggling the most, I think one of the biggest things I wish someone was there for me. If you've got a family member that is not giving up on you, that you know you're burning all bridges with, have a look at you. Honestly, I think people need to realize how many people are hurting whilst you're there. And I think the biggest thing is stop hurting those people. If you want to be in their life and you want their help, you need to accept it. Whether that's a long road or an easy road, you need to work out what it is you want, because I still to this day, as I said before this recording, I see so many people struggling, and I walk around all the time and I'm always like, I get goosebumps. I'm grateful for my life. But I think a lot of us still, when we're healing now, we let ourselves help people that don't want to help themselves. A lot of people do it. And at the end of the day, the sad part is anyone will get help when they're ready for it. When they want the help, they will come and get it. So I think to a lot of people out there with family that are struggling, keep holding on, keep being there for them. People that are, in those parts of addiction, remember who's there for you and how much they're hurting. I suppose that's my biggest note to people, that a lot of people are hurting trying to help you. And it's not easy. It's painful and it's hard. So I think, the biggest thing I can continue to say is be there for those that are struggling, but don't let yourself hurt in the same process. I see so many people losing so many things to help people that aren't ready to help themselves, and it's hard. It hurts. I know it sounds nasty, but you can't do it, and you can't. You have to be there for yourself as much as you can be for the next person. Then, does anyone want a dog? He's 6 months. He's got him. Oh, mate, I've got Rottweiler the Shar Pei, and now we've got this one. He's beautiful, though. We got him for my daughter. I'm like, no more dogs. And as I said, my brother lives with. Do you want to say hello? Say hi. What are you going to do? Say hi? No, you're gone. See you later. But so I just, again, same thing. Like, I suppose, one thing that people always struggle with is the feeling of being alone and not knowing where to turn to. A lot of people know there's support out there, but wouldn't know where to start. So again, for those people, I suppose, like myself, if you've got groups on Facebook, if you've got those anti-Ps or, the ministry, or what you've got for yourself, venture out. I know a lot of people that will get into a group and write a post when they're coming down badly. And you know what? Some of those people have changed their life around from that post because the right person reached out. So never be afraid to speak out, I suppose. That's my big thing too, because a lot of people are so, there's so much stigma around it. People don't know where to speak up to, and they're always feeling judged. And I'm just going to say that you would rather be judged for shit parenting than being an addict, for example. Like, there's always going to be someone judging you, whether it's being an addict for what it is, or crappy in your job, or whatever someone doesn't like about you. Always going to be judged. So that I have to encourage people, I suppose, to stop feeling the need of being judged instead of asking for help, because we're always going to be judged. I'm judged all the time. Like, I have a kid with ASD, and I'm telling you, some days people think I'm a nutter because I'm like, so an example, everyone's always going to judge you no matter what you do in life. So don't worry about what you're going to be judged for when you're getting clean. And I think that's a big thing. People are always so scared of what's going to come out on the road of being clean, that it's trauma and everything else they've, put under there. So I suppose the big thing is just, again, reaching out. I can't say enough. If you're going through a service provider or a rehab or somewhere else right now, make sure you're being honest with yourself. If you're not being honest with yourself, you're not getting the help you need. Like I said, with child safety, I didn't find 1, 2, 3, 4 people before something worked for me. If you're working with child safety, make sure you're doing the right things for yourself. If you know in yourself that once that child safety officer leaves, you're down or you're drinking, you're up to no good, go and see a counsellor. Go and do something that's going to help you, because it's not going to work. You're just going to sit in a vicious circle. And I suppose the biggest thing for me was getting out of that headspace and not living in that circle. If I hadn't have lost my son, I would still be going around in circles again. I believe, like we said, I don't know how many times I would have relapsed, but I knew I was getting clean. I just know when. And sometimes it takes that right person to come along and go, bang. And to me, that was losing my son. And that was the proudest moment today. Like, it hurt me back then, but it was, to me, that was my life. So I suppose, just being really honest with yourself. Honestly, denial is never going to help you heal. You need to be honest. You need to forgive yourself too. I know I'm still learning to forgive myself for a lot of moments I wasn't there with my child. I know still in my parenting now, my kid does things and I get angry, and then I'm like, hang on, that's on you. And I will literally sit there and go, okay, Holly, you've done this, this, and this. How is your kid supposed to go and do this, this, and this, for an example, you know? And you need to be honest with yourself, and forgiving ourselves is one of the most hardest things we can do. And we sweep it under the rug. I've got so much healing to do still. And I'm telling you, it comes out in a lot of triggers, a lot of parenting, a lot of things come out for me. I suppose my inner trauma from my own childhood comes out in parenting. Again, make sure you're healing yourself, you're forgiving yourself. You know, we're not doing any favors to ourselves if we're not being honest, and we're not doing what we need to do to be able to make those changes. So, yeah, I guess it's just about rocking up for yourself, guys, being honest and reaching out for the right support and surrounding yourself with the right support.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And if you do reach out to someone and it's not the right person for you, keep trying. Just
That's
because
right.
that's, you know, a rejection there, you just got to keep trying, much like, you know, child services. So, yeah, no, I just want to thank you for your time and for your absolute honesty today. You have such amazing points, and they're on point completely, you
Thank
know.
you.
And I think, no, you're welcome. I think you're an actually remarkable young lady. Your hardships that you've been through have been quite challenging. But, you know, at that point of having your kids taken, you went, no, stuff this, my kids mean more. So I'm so thankful you did the work. I'm grateful you did the work, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds for you. You know, keep in contact and whatnot, and I'll be in contact anyway, but we'll talk about that.
I was going to say, if you're moving to Cairns, girl, let's go.
Yeah, that's the plans. So yeah, just no, thank you so much. And you know, if anyone does need help before I finish, I just want to say, obviously, give the Australian Anti-Ice hotline a call. That is 1-800-NO-TO-ICE, otherwise 1-800-66-86-423. Obviously, we have, like I said before, buddies. We can put you in contact with people for education, like, you know, we can get you into support services, we can get you into rehab, all those sorts of things. Or even if it's just you need education about it for yourself, or, you know, for community services or schools, all those sorts of things, we do all that too. So please, if anyone is experiencing, or you know someone that is, reach out, because that's the most important thing that we can do. Apart from that, thank you so much. Have a beautiful night, Australia, and I will see you soon. Bye.